Martha's shocking story, the 65-year-old woman's incredible secret. Have you ever discovered that the person you've been married to for 40 years was a complete stranger? What if you learned who your own child really was and realized your entire life was built on a lie? What you're about to hear will shock you. Are you ready? Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. My name is Martha Williams. I'm 65 years old and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm about to tell you the incredible story of how the truth I discovered on the most tragic day of my life destroyed my 40-year marriage and all my beliefs. What I finally learned will literally leave you breathless. I met my husband Richard at Arizona State University in 1983. He was studying business. I was studying nursing. Richard was tall, handsome, a perfect gentleman. He had dark brown eyes, always perfectly styled hair, and a dimple that appeared when he smiled. It was love at first sight. That moment we bumped into each other in the library when my books fell to the floor and he helped me. He said, "Nursing is a tough major, but it suits someone with such a beautiful heart like yours." Our first date after meeting was unforgettable. He took me to the city's most romantic restaurant. Red roses, candlelight, jazz music. Every detail was perfect. "Martha," he said that night, "every moment I spend with you becomes the happiest moments of my life." He seemed so sincere then. I never doubted him. We married in 1985 with a grand wedding in Phoenix's most beautiful church, in front of 200 guests. We vowed till death do us part. We spent our honeymoon in Hawaii. Throughout that week, Richard was so attentive, so in love with me that I could feel other men's jealous glances. After moving to Phoenix, we built our new life. Richard started working at a small accounting firm, and I became a nurse at Mercy General Hospital. We were very happy during that period. On weekends, we would walk hand in hand on the beach, plan our future, choose names for our children. Our son Michael was born in 1987. I can never forget the happiness in Richard's eyes after the birth. When he first held the baby, he had tears in his eyes. "How can something so perfect exist, Martha?" he said. Our son, our family, Michael's first steps, first words, first day starting school. Every moment was a sacred family memory. Richard was a wonderful husband, a wonderful father. Every evening when he came home from work, his first action was to hug Michael, then kiss me. He would dance in the kitchen while I cooked, build Legos with Michael. On weekends, we would have picnics in the park, go to the beach, watch the latest movies. Even our neighbors, the Henderson family, envied our happiness. "You're a perfect family," neighbor Susan would say. I wish we had such harmony too. Richard was a very hardworking and ambitious man. He quickly rose in the accounting firm. Clients loved him. "They trust you," I would tell him, "because you're honest and reliable." In 1992, he started his own company. Our firm, Williams and Associates Accounting, started from a small office. But thanks to Richard's talents, it grew rapidly. It became one of Arizona's most respected accounting firms. I had also become head nurse at the hospital. For 40 years, we had a truly perfect marriage. We never had big fights, never experienced suspicions of infidelity. Richard was always loving, understanding, reliable. Every year we celebrated our wedding anniversary. bought meaningful gifts for each other, went to romantic dinners. Every February 14th he would bring me red roses. Just like the day we first met, he would say, "I still feel the same butterflies in my stomach." As Michael grew up, he became an even more wonderful son. He graduated valedictorian from high school, got into Harvard Law School. Richard was so proud that day, he told all the neighbors, "My son is going to Harvard," he had shouted. Now he's a successful lawyer in Los Angeles, a partner at a renowned law firm. He's married with 2 children, Emma and David. He would visit us every month. We would play with our grandchildren, have family gatherings. We had a perfect life, a perfect family. But now looking back, I noticed some strange details. Richard's only peculiar trait was being a very secretive person. He never talked about his family. "My parents are dead. I have no relatives." He would always say the same sentence. When I asked questions about his past, he would skillfully change the subject. "The past stays in the past, Martha," he would say. "What matters is now and our future." But this never bothered me. Everyone has pain in their past, I would think. Maybe he has bad memories with his family. That's why he doesn't want to talk. I never went through Richard's papers. He had a special cabinet in his study, always kept it locked. Only he would open it. No one else could touch it. "Work papers," he would say. "Client confidentiality is very important." I respected this and never interfered. For 40 years, I never wondered what was inside. Trust was the foundation of our marriage. Last week, everything changed suddenly. Terribly. Richard had a heart attack. While we were sitting at breakfast, he suddenly clutched his chest, his face contorted. "Martha," he said breathlessly, "I think." Before he could finish his sentence, he collapsed in his chair. I called the ambulance, tried to do CPR, but it was too late. They took him to the hospital, but couldn't save him. He was 68 years old, a very healthy man. Every year he would have checkups, exercise. Doctors would say perfect health. The doctors were also surprised. His heart was very strong. There were no risk factors. "We don't understand why this happened," they said. During funeral preparations, I needed to go through Richard's papers. The funeral director needed social security number, insurance policies, bank accounts, identity documents. "Unfortunately, it's bureaucracy," he had said. "But we can't process without the necessary documents." I had to open that locked cabinet. Richard's key was in his jacket pocket. When I opened the lock with trembling hands, what I found changed my life forever. The first shocking thing, Richard Williams was not his real name. In the old, faded passport I found in the cabinet, it said David Paul Morrison, born 1955, Chicago, Illinois. Richard had always told me he was born in Phoenix in 1954. His name was completely wrong. His birthplace, his age. The passport I held was from the 1980s. The man in the photo was definitely Richard, but the name was completely different. The second shock, there was an FBI file. In a thick folder. Old FBI documents, witness protection program papers, government sealed official papers. It was written that Richard, David, had testified to the FBI in 1982, was a key witness in a major organized crime case. The report that started subject David Morrison agreed to testify against the Castellano crime family in exchange for witness protection was trembling in my hands. The third shock. He had a first wife and children. In 1979, he had married someone named Linda Morrison, had 2 children named Danny and Kelly. Marriage certificate, birth certificates, family photos. Linda was a beautiful woman, blonde hair, blue eyes. In the photos, Richard looked very happy with her. In 1982, he was taken into the FBI Witness Protection Program. His family was abandoned. The report said family abandoned for protection purposes. The fourth shock. Michael was not our son. There were adoption papers, but not official adoption. Michael was actually Richard's, David's, real son Danny. In 1982, when he was only 5 years old, he got a new identity with the Witness Protection Program. Danny Morrison's identity was erased. He became Michael Williams. FBI documents said adoption would be easy due to the child's young age. The fifth shock. I was not a victim. I was guilty. The most shocking thing was written in FBI documents. David Morrison will be relocated with accomplice nurse Martha Stevens. I wasn't Martha Williams. I was Martha Stevens. And accomplice meant crime partner. So I was also guilty, not his victim. My hands were trembling so much I was dropping the documents. The man I had lived with for 40 years was someone else. Even my beloved son was someone else. And I was also someone else. When I looked in the mirror, I was face to face with someone I didn't recognize. In the last file, my breath was completely cut off. Original crime report. In 1981, there was a major drug trafficking ring in Chicago. David Morrison worked as an accountant in the gang, laundering money. I worked at Mercy Hospital, Chicago, providing medical supplies to the gang. Morphine, fentanyl, medical equipment. We were both important parts of organized crime. In 1982, the FBI caught us in a major operation. David agreed to cooperate, to testify against the big fish. I made the same deal. In exchange for catching the big fish, we were both taken into witness protection. New names, new stories, new lives were given. David Paul Morrison gives Richard Williams. Martha Stevens gives Martha Williams. Danny Morrison gives Michael Williams. We were placed in Phoenix. Our new love story was created by the FBI. We met at university, fell in love, married in 1985. In reality, we were fugitives from Chicago, running from fear. The FBI agent's report was written in a cold tone. David and Martha were given perfect cover story. Organized crime memories were suppressed. Michael is very young. Adaptation will be easy. No identity successfully implanted. The last page was the most shocking. Medical records. When we were caught in Chicago, I was being treated for severe drug addiction. FBI documents said memory suppression therapy administered. There was a report saying traumatic experiences and criminal associations chemically suppressed. So, medical procedures were done to make me forget my past. My memories were chemically erased. At that moment, everything became crystal clear. Why I couldn't remember my past, why Richard was always so secretive, why we had no relatives, old friends, why our life felt like it started in 1985. The life I had lived for 40 years was completely, entirely a lie. But the real shock came after this. My phone rang. It was Michael. His voice was very strange, serious, and tense. "Mom, the FBI called me because Dad died. They're coming to Phoenix. They want to talk to you." FBI? My voice wouldn't come out. "Yes, Mom. They said the witness protection program is over, that we're safe now. Also, they told me the truth." "What did they tell you, Michael?" There was a long silence. Then his voice completely changed. "Mom, I'm not your son. I'm Danny from Dad's marriage in Chicago. And you were Dad's crime partner." My world slipped away from under my feet. There was such coldness in my son's voice that someone I had never known was speaking. "Michael, I don't remember anything. The FBI says they erased your memory, but the criminal records remain." "Mom, you were a drug dealer. You and Dad were laundering money together." That night, FBI agents came. Agent Sarah Cooper was a tall woman with a serious face. Agent James Martinez was short, thick-mustached, with very sharp eyes. They sat at my living room table and opened their files. "Mrs. Stevens." "Excuse me, Mrs. Williams. The protection program is officially over. The Castellano family has been completely destroyed. They no longer pose a threat to you. There's no harm in you knowing your old identity now." So, was I really guilty? My voice came out like a child's. Agent Cooper took out photos from the file. From the 1980s, photos of a woman I didn't recognize. But that woman was me. My hair was different. My eyes were different. But my facial features were the same. "You were an important part of the drug trafficking ring, Mrs. Stevens. You were stealing medical supplies from the hospital, selling them to street dealers. But you didn't receive punishment because you cooperated." Did David really love me? This was what I was most curious about. Agent Cooper looked with a sad expression. "We don't have data on this subject. Maybe it was just partnership at the beginning. Maybe it turned into real love later. But you lived a happy life together for 40 years. What happened to Michael's real mother, Linda?" Agent Martinez shuffled through the file. "Linda Morrison died of cancer in 1985. David's real relationship with you started after that. Maybe he had really fallen in love with you?" I was afraid to ask my last question. "So who am I really?" Agent Martinez opened a thick file. Inside was the life story of a woman I didn't know. Martha Stevens, born 1958, Chicago, Mercy Hospital, nurse. Drug addiction started in 1980. Criminal activity started in 1981. Arrested in 1982. Taken into rehabilitation program. No identity given after memory suppression treatment. What happens now? Nothing. The program is officially over. You can continue your normal life. But now you know the truth. If you want, you can research your old life. After the agents left, I looked at myself in the mirror. A 65-year-old woman who learned that the life she had lived for 40 years was completely a lie. A person named Martha Williams had never lived. That wasn't me. What the most painful was Michael's visit the next day. When he knocked on the door, my heart raced. Maybe everything would return to normal. Maybe my son would understand me. But what I saw when I opened the door was a stranger. His face was cold, his eyes distant. "Mom, I mean Martha." The way he said my name was like a knife. I feel very confused after learning the truth. You're not my real mother. Dad isn't Richard either. He's David. Michael, I raised you since you were 5 years old. I loved you like my own son. This doesn't change anything. I know. But you were a drug dealer. You were Dad's criminal partner. You were stealing medicine from the hospital. It's very hard to accept this. I don't remember anything, Michael. It's a big shock for me too. The FBI says my real mother, Linda, was a very good woman. Dad loved her very much. You were just a business partner. Those words tore my heart into 1,000 pieces. The son I had loved for 40 years, raised, sacrificed everything for, saw me as just a business partner. Michael, please, I need a few days to think. Martha, this is very heavy. What will I tell my children? Your grandmother was actually a former drug dealer. Michael closed the door and left. I had never felt so alone in my life. Now I'm a 65-year-old woman who learned that even her name isn't real. My husband lied every day for 40 years. But I still love him, because for me he was Richard Williams, not David Morrison. My son wasn't my real son, but I still love him like my own child, because he's my Michael, not Danny Morrison. The most painful thing is not even knowing who I am myself. A person named Martha Williams had never existed. She was just a character created by the FBI. I don't remember Martha Stevens at all. So who am I really? According to FBI medical records, memory suppression treatment could be reversible. Memories could return with special treatments. But do I want that? Do I want to know the 25-year-old drug addict, criminal Martha Stevens? Or should I prefer the happy lie I've lived for 40 years? Every night I lie in bed and look at the ceiling. Richard's pillow is still next to me. I can still smell his scent. But now I don't know if he's David or Richard. Did he really love me? Or was I just part of the cover story? So what would you do if you were me? Would you want to learn the painful truth? Or would you continue living with the happy lie? And if you learned that your entire life was a lie, how would you redefine yourself?